The site of Old Cairo is absolutely remarkable because it is rather a small area, not quite large, in something like 1 kilometer, square kilometer. You have the old Roman fortress of Babylon, which is Qasr al-Sham in Arabic. That's a Roman fortress which was built to protect a harbor right here, which was overlooking the beginning of a canal, which was called the Canal of Trajan, which ran this way. So that's a very important fortress from the Roman period. In the area of the fortress, we have the oldest synagogue in Egypt, which is the synagogue of Ben Ezra. The building today is modern, kind of, but it's been restored many times. But the synagogue itself, being the oldest one, built over the site which is believed to be where Moses was found, makes it kind of holy and very important. Then we have two of the oldest churches in Egypt, the Church of Malacca, which is the hanging church, and the Church of Abu Sirga, which is built on top of a crypt, believed to be the place where the Holy Family resided when they came to Egypt, amongst many other churches in the area. Then we have also the oldest mosque in Egypt and in Africa, the Mosque of Amr ibn al-As, which is right there. Behind it, as you can see at a distance, beyond that, those buildings and the greenery there, behind that was the oldest Islamic capital of Egypt, the city of al-Fustat. Now it is lost. It was lost in the 12th century. It was totally burnt in the 12th century. But it was a remarkable city, it was very advanced, and in all its technology, in its buildings, in its merchants, the trade, very important center of trade, and had a cosmopolitan society living in it. We also have in Old Cairo the Coptic Museum. So we have all these buildings together, all in one area, which is quite unique. And no other area in the world has all these religious buildings all in one. It can only be equaled with Jerusalem, probably the only place in the world where you would have all this together. When Amr ibn al-As came to Egypt with his troops in the year 640 AD, he found that the capital of Egypt at the time was Alexandria. He took it over with no problem. Egypt was ruled by the Byzantines then. But the most difficult of all the fortresses for him to take over was the fortress of Babylon. He didn't take it over. He besieged it for 6 months, and when after it surrendered, the area where the Arabs camped, which is in this area, that area behind there, became the first Islamic capital of Egypt, the city of al-Fustat. Amr ibn al-As had a house. The house was obviously in a beautiful place. The house was built overlooking a canal, the Canal of Trajan that I just mentioned earlier, which probably ran in this area, the Canal of Trajan. So Amr ibn al-As had a very small house here. Behind the house, when it was time for prayer, people would gather and they would pray behind the house. Now Amr ibn al-As died. The house continued to be used as an administrative building, a place for gathering and whatever, and they decided then to start having some architecture in the building. And what you see today in the Mosque of Armor today is totally different from how it used to look originally when it was built. The Mosque of Armor was probably 1/10 of the size of the mosque today. And then over the years, since it's the first mosque in Egypt and in Africa, over the history of Islamic Egypt, important people started to build and build and build and add to it and restore until it reached that huge size that it is in today. The Mosque of Amr is a very popular mosque. It's probably one of the most popular mosques for prayer. It's not one of the most interesting mosques for students of Islamic architecture to study because very little of its original still survives. Amr ibn al-As being a close companion to the Prophet Muhammad, from the first generation of the Prophet Muhammad. The mosque therefore has some holiness that is regarded to it. This you wouldn't see on a normal day like today, a weekday. You'd see it on Fridays. It is filled up with people. But more so during the feast, either the small feast or the big feast, Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr, or any of the feasts in Egypt, you have, or in Ramadan, in the holy month of Ramadan, all this place, all this area is packed